Call the meeting to order. Everyone's here.
Well,
But
is Sally
Sally-
here?
Sally is not here. I reminded
may
her,
be
oh, wait, let me
joining.
get up and get, she might be a little late. I did ask her to come in 15 minutes early to deal with the tech issues she might have.
Because of three times out type thing. She's absent for 3 times.
She did
try to get in last.
She did try to get in
Yeah.
last
Oh, she
time,
did,
and
That's
she
Something
did
wasn't-
communicate with me saying
something
that she was
wasn't
going to come, but
okay.
hopefully she
I hope
will
she does.
call me. I did remind her about 10 minutes ago that we have a meeting, so we will see. Okay, agendas are.
Okay. We're ready to start, and
Mm-hmm.
shall we start with you and whatever you want to share with us, and then you won't have to hear all whatever else we have to talk about.
Sure. Well, thank you. I see some new faces, or I think I see some new faces, so.
Well,
Um,
No, it's
I'm
my-
the
Just
longest-
Pa-
I've
just
been here the
Pam.
longest, so I don't-
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I thought you were a new
Yes,
face
I've
as
been here the
well.
longest.
Oh, you
for a
have?
long time.
Well, I apologize.
Even before.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Chip Clark with D'Arcangelo and Company. The engagement partner on the audit of the Dunham Library. And what you have in front of you are the September 30th, 2021 financial statements. I'm just gonna go over them. I have
the book.
You have the books? So what I'm gonna go, you should have in front of you are 2 letters and the overall
2 letters.
financial statements. The letters are required
Okay.
communication. I'm gonna start with the letter titled Communication with those charged with governance at the conclusion of the audit. It's a 2-page document, pretty boilerplate document. This is if there was any difficulties or disagreements with management and the performance of the audit. There was no problems in our performance of the audit. We were able to perform our procedures and opine on the financial statements. You will see on the first page there, about 2/3 of the page down, you will see 2 estimates that are significant. One is compensated absences, and the other, which is more important, is the capital assets net of depreciation. So those are 2 significant estimates.
Can I interject? So we did have someone come through, but there's nothing in writing of like the antiques and those types of things. We don't really have anything, and I know that you probably need it in writing, that we don't have anything formally like worth anything much. We do have some things that are ivory. We can't sell those unless it's on the black market. And then we also have some like secretary desks and older furniture that he said isn't, like, it's not a Louis XIV. So that's, and then it's just normal library stuff. So we would just have someone walk through the building and say, yeah,
Yeah,
this
it's just to
table
get-
is
get
worth
enough,
X.
An appraiser to come in. Now, it's historical cost is what we want the value to be. So it wouldn't be what the estimated value is. It'd be.
So if it's purchased
based on-
35 years ago.
Then
does
it's
it have
fully
value?
depreciated, then it's fully.
That's what I'm saying. We
depreciated.
don't really have
That's
any
right,
value
that's
before 2008 for the
Maybe
most part.
the chairs.
But we need it written down. That's basically is what
Exactly
you want
right.
it in
And
writing.
that carries over to your predecessor auditor prior to me.
Right.
This was something that was ongoing, that
Mm-hmm.
there was no, there was no documentation. So
okay.
we can't, I can guess that it's
Right.
the net value is probably 0.
Zero, because it's,
But I can't make that
We've been
judgment on my
using it
own.
that
It needs to
long.
be
Okay.
done by a certified appraiser.
it has to be a certified appraiser, not somebody, because are they gonna
Yeah,
know?
school
it's a
districts had to
35-year-old?
do this years ago.
All right.
They never used to, but what the most important thing is that it's done at historical cost or estimated historical cost. And then based on the age of the asset, which is going to be significant in this
Right.
case, it's probably fully depreciated.
Yes,
And then what we
they
would
are.
do is we would book the asset and book the accumulated depreciation.
Okay.
Okay, that's what's not on the books right now prior to, I think,
Oh, wait,
yes,
I think it says 08.
prior to 2008.
Okay,
So that's all we would need.
All right.
And I don't think there'd be a major balance sheet adjustment to anything. I think it
No.
would just be.
I mean, just
zero.
chairs and,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
And again, a lot of governments prior to the GASB that required us to book, the GASB 34, we'd have to worry about, it. But school districts had a qualification in their audits for years because of, they didn't have historical cost on their buildings, but when this new GASB came out, they all brought in these appraisers, so.
Okay.
You can have that done relatively cheaply, I would think.
Yeah.
And we could get rid of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other one, the actual needing to hire an actuary about retirement, that is or well, whatever that is, it's retirement, yes?
Yes,
The next one is,
well, there's retirement and then there's your pension, your OPEB, which is,
New York State retirement.
that's one of them. Okay, that's GASB 68, okay, would be
Okay.
your pension. Okay. But then there's an OPEB liability as well, which is other post-employment benefits based on contractual.
Right, the discounted health insurance.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. So, yeah, so that, if you go to the second letter, you'll see exactly what we're talking about here. So, we qualify the financial statements based on some departures from governmental accounting standards, and those are on page 3. You'll see those. One is the lack of a complete fixed asset listing. We think we can get past this one, you know, if we can get somebody in here. We don't think there's a huge impact on the actual financials, but from an auditing perspective, we have to note this because we don't have an appraisal prior to 2008.
Okay,
And then 12-2 there on page 3, you'll see lack of other post-employment benefit, the OPEB accrual, that's GASB 75. And then lack of the pension accrual, which is GASB 68 for your ERS employees. Those are all required to have a clean financial statement. Any questions on either one of those 2 letters?
so the school district might be able to help us
Yeah.
with the
School
New York
can.
Oh,
State
yeah,
retirement.
the school has to do that every single year. They have appraisal company. And again, you don't have many employees. I think it would be easy.
We did something with them and asked, but because they have all of that.
I recall that. I'm
But
not sure what
I
happened.
don't recall.
Yeah, it seems to me that,
Because I did, like the
Yeah.
first time, I was like, oh, and then, I don't know, it kind of gets away from me because it was not sure. Well,
There's a few firms that do it. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, the initial one is a little more expensive, but then it's just an update based on if the contract changes or anything like that. So,
Okay,
okay. So to get right into the financial statements, I'll move you right to page 1. And this is our independent auditors report, or our opinion. And you'll see at the bottom of the page, as we discussed, because of those GASB departures, we have what's called a qualified opinion. So basically what that means is, except for these GASB departures, these financial statements can be relied upon. So it's not an unmodified or clean opinion. It's one step under. It just is because we have these departures, it's a qualified opinion. And we have to note that for the reader of the financial statement. On page 3, you'll see a required report over internal controls over financial reporting in accordance with government auditing standards. Because you're a government library, you have to do an audit in accordance with government auditing standards. It's also called Yellow Book standards. And that basically requires us to gain an understanding of the internal controls of the organization and test those internal controls over financial reporting. Also, as part of that Yellow Book letter, if there was any gap departures, we have to note those. So you'll see a repeat of that second letter I went over. You'll see that also in the body of the financial statements on page 6 and on page 7. So I won't go over those again. And then because these are full GASB compliant financial statements, part of GASB requires what's called a management discussion and analysis. This is basically an executive summary of what's behind it, the actual financial statements themselves. And that's on page 8 through 14. So it just gives you some comparison to the previous year, talks a little bit about what's in the financial statements, but I'm going to go right through the financial statements themselves. So, you know, I suggest you read through the MD&A. It's got some good stuff at the very end. It's also got some things that April had included on page 13. You'll see factors bearing on the library's future. This is an opportunity, this statement is an opportunity to disclose anything that you want the readers of the financial statements to know about the library, about the things that are affecting it in the future. So you'll see that on page 13 and 14. Next, on page 15, we get into the actual financial statements. And what's important to know, if it's your first time through these financials, is there's really two sets of financials, which is required by GASB. You got the full accrual financials that take into account all your funds, special revenue fund, your capital fund, and your operating fund, the library fund. And it also includes any long-term assets or liabilities. So this page 15 it takes into account all those. It's a full accrual financial. You'll see total assets of $2,157,055. About 51% of that is made up in your capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation, just above that of $1,088,961. And then the rest is really cash and are both restricted and unrestricted cash, $929,266 and $95,058 in cash, leaving you with about half the page down, total net position of $2,006,243 on the full accrual basis. On page 16, you'll see the statement of activities, total expenses, program expenses of $1,166,564, offset by program revenues, and then further offset by your general revenues, which majority of your general revenues is in real property taxes of $1,178,268, leaving you with a change in that position of $80,607 on the full accrual financials. We'll next get in on page 17. You get into the balance sheet for your governmental fund. So this is that second set of financials. This is your fund financials. And this is where you'll see the individual funds broken out. So you'll see your general operating fund, your special revenue fund, and your capital fund. Your total assets in the operating fund of $959,682. Majority of that's cash. Total liabilities, about half the page down of $247,139. Majority of that is due to ERS of $113,502, and then due to other funds, which is your capital fund activity between the operating fund and the capital fund. You have money going back and forth, leaving you a total fund equity in the operating fund of $712,543. You'll also see you have money sitting in fund equity in the capital fund. I'll show you a capital fund statement that shows you some of your capital projects and money that's come over that still has yet to be spent. On page 18 is a reconciliation statement between those two sets of financials, between the full accrual financial statements and these fund financials. And like I said, long-term assets is really the difference there between the two. Page 19 is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity for your fund statements. Again, broken out by the individual funds. Total revenues in your operating fund of $1,233,335. 91% or 96% of that is in real property taxes. Total expenditures of $1,072,574. $851,000 is made up of salaries and benefits, which is roughly 79% of your total expenditures. You transfer money every year based on your operating budget over to the capital fund for projects. And you'll see that $50,000 being transferred over to the capital fund, leaving you a total fund equity of $712,543. Page 20 is another reconciliation statement. Pages 21 through 21 through 27 are required note disclosures. I won't go through all these, but they're a good read if you want to get an understanding of some of the accounting policies that we have to follow. Some of the a further breakout of some of the funds. So it's an interesting read to go through those, but I will point out one of the notes that's interesting because you've had so much activity with capital projects. You'll see on page 25 on the capital assets. So this has been being recorded based on all your projects, and you'll see the total net capital assets of $1,088,961. So you'll see that all broken out and required based on accounting standards to depreciate those assets over the term. And so you'll see all our, what we had talked about, the fixed of the qualification we have in the financial statements. Those, anything prior to 2008 isn't included in here, but if we were to get that information, it would change the numbers in your buildings and improvements most likely, and both the accumulated and the amounts being depreciated. So, but the net difference would probably be zero. And then on page 28, you're going to see a budget to actual schedule for the operating fund. So you'll see original amended budget and actual, and you'll see how you performed relative to your budget. And you really, are really tight on your revenue side, about 2.5% off on your budgeted revenues versus actual revenues coming in, which is within what I would expect to see for most governments. That's about the range. And total expenditures, you'll see a budget of $1,202,500, and the actual came in at $1,122,574, which is about 6% variance from your budget. Again, very, very reasonable, very within the normal range. And then on page 29, you'll see that schedule of expenditures for your capital projects. And at the very right-hand side, you'll see the fund balance there of $124,943. Okay, that's all I have on the financial statements. I'll open it up for any questions that you have, and get back to your agenda.
Do you have any idea how much it would cost to have that appraisal or whatever you call it of our asset? Because I have no clue. I never thought about that.
I would say probably 5,000 or less
Okay.
to have that done. If they understand the scope, which is it's prior to 2008, they really, well, if they did a fixed asset appraisal, we wouldn't be isolating it from 2008 prior. We'd want them to do a full appraisal, okay, based on historical cost. That'd be my recommendation, because it's always good practice to have that done.
Yeah.
And so, there might be some adjustments that we would make based on their appraisal. But it's always a good practice. We always recommend some type of appraisal being done every 5 years.
Okay.
So I would, just guessing, I would say.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we ever had it done?
Okay.
Oh, hi, Sally.
Not since I've-
I
Hey,
did
Sally.
Hey, Sally.
call, and I think we had an estimate. It seemed expensive at the time, but maybe
No worries.
I've become immune to how much everything
I know.
costs.
After a
By
while,
now,
you do.
I'm like, it's a monopoly money. I remember saying, oh my gosh, but I do remember having them look at all the antiques and things of that nature.
Well,
And it's an actuary that we need for what has to do
they don't
with
need to
staff.
go through the antiques.
No, the actuary you need for that
The
retirement.
Retirement and all
Yeah.
that. That was the part that we really, I know Mid-York.
But
did
I don't
do
need to
such
give
a thing.
values for your antiques. I
Okay,
need
good. So
Building
that's just
and equipment.
building, equipment,
That's it.
that's easier.
We don't want to get into art or anything like that. I don't have to book that. That's not on your books.
Okay,
nor would it
building
be.
and then retirement.
The sum total of the antique is probably $45.
Is
Yeah.
that
Not really.
storage?
No junk
I'm
there,
sorry.
yeah.
Because again,
Retirement.
GASB is at
and
historical
healthcare.
cost. It's
Yeah.
not at estimated
Resale
value,
value.
resale
right.
value.
Yeah.
It's historical cost.
All right. I'll have Charlotte in that.
Yeah, Sharon, if you have any questions on that, when you're when you're doing this project, let me know. I might have some,
If you names, yeah.
some names.
And Mid-York would probably have it too, because I know that they went through it a while back, because I think that's when they started to figure out, okay, new hires are gonna have this insurance. And
Well, you're talking,
Previous,
you're not
those
talking
kinds of
fixed
things.
assets, you're talking the actuary that would
That-
be
yes.
doing, would be doing the GASB 75.
the other two,
Yeah.
I'm not really that worried about the building, because that, whatever. I mean, we know the current, I don't know how they value the building before 2008, because it doesn't look like it did. So that's a little
Well,
confusing to me.
they're dealing with the same problem. They dealt with that with school districts as well. There was
Yeah, they just had
plenty
to
of school
estimate
buildings.
it.
Every year.
It's estimated.
Okay,
It's
because I can
estimated.
tell them the projects that have happened since 2013 when I got here, and we probably have an estimate of like.
They're sitting
whatever.
right here. I mean, every
Yeah.
expenditure
Yeah.
that you did on a
Right.
capital project is sitting on the books right now.
Right,
But I would like them to come up with, because what you want is for them to do an appraisal, give you a record, report that shows everything and the
Okay.
depreciation of it all.
okay,
And then we might have some differences based on how I've depreciated.
Okay.
But I really shouldn't be doing the depreciation. They
Fair.
should. And then
I mean,
what you
they
would
look
do
at a
every year
bathroom and say
is
this
you would
bathroom
update
is
it with
worth
that. You
whatever.
would say, this is what we've bought,
Okay,
or these are the new capital projects that we've completed.
right,
And then you give it to them, they add it, they depreciate it, and they send a report to you every year. And then I use that report. But that update's very reasonable in cost. It's,
Okay,
know,
it's just the
$500 to
initial.
$1,000. The initial one is what,
And this depreciation, they use formulas and stuff and say like office furniture depreciates by this percentage every year.
Yeah, they use IRS guidelines,
Stuff like
say
that.
office furniture, 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah,
You really should have a policy is, just for consistency's sake, as to how many years you're gonna depreciate certain things. But there's guidelines.
Yeah.
Computers are normally 3 years
3.
now, because computers.
right.
you're
Oh,
lucky
no.
If you get 3 years out of a computer now, but it's estimated useful life.
So my grandchildren tell me anyway.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. Well, I thank everyone. I thank Shar and April for all their help in getting this done.
okay.
And
And thank you, Chip. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. very
Okay, and
much.
we,
Thanks.
is that an FYI or we actually have to approve that? I said, is that an FYI or we actually have to approve it? I almost think we have to
No.
approve it
You might have to.
or approve or acknowledge that,
Yeah.
acknowledge that a report was given.
Right, just
Yeah.
acknowledge
So
it.
do we like make a motion to accept the report?
No, because
No.
it's the. Why would
Because
you-
we
have
have-
to
Yeah, I
accept
mean,
it.
we
we
can't do
chose
anything
it.
about it.
Well, you have to accept the annual report too, so
Yeah,
just
just
saying.
accept it, but not approve it or.
There you
whatever is
go.
what I was saying.
Okay,
I don't
well,
know.
But
I
Chip,
don't-
you don't
I don't
have to
think we have
worry
to do
about it.
anything.
No, I don't think.
I mean, it's on
Yeah.
the, and maybe you could just say that it happened, and then we
Right,
could
right,
we
yeah.
could look back at the minutes and
this is
say,
the
oh,
board
yeah,
meeting.
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is the board
You
meeting.
need to approve the report, accept and approve the report. It's
Usually-
normally what's done.
That's
I'm
fair.
not- I'm not your
I think
board- I'm not your
so.
board advisor.
A lot of people approve things that don't technically need to be
No.
approved,
Yeah,
like
I know.
treasurer's reports are accepted subject to audit or whatever, but it doesn't.
But there's
hurt
a
to
lot of
approve
money
something
here,
you
so
don't
we could-
Actually have to
right.
approve.
It would be nice.
Well,
Yeah.
if we did
it's
that.
that you've reviewed them.
Yeah,
We just
You
need
agree
to
with the financial
this again.
statements, so it's
Yeah.
normally
There you go.
not just an
Yeah.
I
acceptance.
think we.
okay, all right.
But we could do that after you go.
Oh, yeah, you don't
Yeah.
need me here.
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well,
you.
I appreciate it, thank
Did you get
you.
this online? Because I read some of this.
Yes, I sent
Oh,
you, I
okay.
sent it to
I know,
you
because I read it, okay.
because it was,
All
right,
right.
he sent it to me in a
Before my
digital format.
computer crashed, yeah.
Okay, great.
That's what happened. It
Yeah.
was that.
Is that the cause you crashed?
Maybe that's
All right,
because-
thanks.
Kidding.
Okay, so
Thank you.
what
Okay.
did we decide? That
So
we
I
should
think we
have
should.
a
All right.
motion?
So
I
I'll
would.
accept to
You'll
accept it and approve
Approve
it.
it, okay, Pat. I can,
To approve or to, I don't know,
Well,
approve or
you-
acknowledge. I
I mean, you
mean,
could just accept it. and approve,
well,
Whatever.
yeah, it doesn't hurt to
yeah,
say
approve.
both.
I do believe we're supposed to have it approved. When,
Yeah.
at what board meeting was it approved? I think that
Yeah.
it comes up in the,
It, my thing is always err on the side of doing a
Right.
little bit more,
If it's
especially with something
redundant, it's all good.
involved with legal.
Okay,
like
do,
that.
so do we have the motion?
We have to second, yes, I made a
Yes.
motion.
All
I'll
right,
second.
I'll second.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back to the order of the meeting.
Do you feel acknowledged? Like you said hello. Do you
Oh,
wanna?
yeah. I'm-
You're good.
I'm
Okay,
here-
I just,
I'm here
the
for-
public comment is like.
Yeah, I have no comments. I'm
No
just
comment.
here to
Okay.
see how it's
You
going.
wanna see
All
what,
right.
see what's going
Thank
on.
you.
Very good.
And what was your last name?
Markham, Markham.
Okay.
Markham, how do I know that?
Stephanie
That's the teacher
Markham.
name, Markham.
Stephanie Markham's husband.
Yeah,
Stephanie
my-
used
my
to
wife
work here.
used to live here, or
Oh,
not
I
live
used to work here?
Maybe she used to
Stephanie
live
used to
here.
work
I remember
here.
meeting you one
Youth
time, but I'm not sure
services
why.
and,
Yeah, I've been around.
But it was, I thought there was a student or. a teacher
Okay.
there.
oh, wait,
The
imagine.
minutes from the previous meetings, everybody had a chance to
Yeah.
look them over. So we
Can
can,
anybody hear me?
We can,
Yes,
yeah.
we can.
Very, very
Okay,
little.
so I can hear you, but I cannot get the video and the sound at the same time.
well then.
Mark,
just
do you have any
this
thoughts on that?
Very, very low.
I have heard of this problem before when trying to connect to Zoom with an iPhone.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
What?
Okay,
Oh,
well, we can hear you.
we can hear you though.
However, I take classes from Union College on my iPhone, fine. I meet with my family on Zoom, fine. I meet with friends on Zoom, fine. I
Okay,
do book groups on phone, fine. The only place I
Okay,
have a
so-
problem is with the library here. Matter of fact, I do Mid-York and that's fine. I have
Funny.
no problem any place but here.
well, we'll see if we can figure it out. I certainly
Hmm.
can't, but there are people who can.
Okay.
Can
Do
we
you ha-
look over the minutes from the last meeting? Anyone have any corrections, additions? It seemed to me that it was fine
Right.
when I read it online, but that was. 2 days ago.
It didn't change.
Hmm? No,
It didn't
no.
change.
It's whether or not I can remember what I read a few days ago. Okay, can we have a motion to accept the
Okay.
minutes of the
So
March 8th
moved.
meeting?
Scott's.
Well, Scott moved
Who?
Scott,
I'll
Yes.
second.
and then
and Pat seconded.
Pat.
Okay.
Okay. President's report. I do not have a report. I had a question and I think it's been answered because I wondered, I saw the sign one day when I was here, asking people if they were interested, you know, in running for the board.
Mm.
And now I know one at least is
At least one.
interested. so-
and also Nedra Eisenberg submitted.
Oh, okay.
Nedra Eisenberg was a teacher in Helen Patton. She's
Oh.
retired.
What's her first name?
Nedra,
Oh.
Nedra.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she brings her grandson here
Oh,
and
okay.
she brought her children here.
So that's good to know. I was glad to hear that, that people were interested.
And for
And
some
then
reason, when I
next-
sent her your email, April, it didn't send, but she sent me the paragraph. Oh, I can share that.
Okay, you could forward it.
I don't know. Oh, yeah,
Who's-
probably.
Whose term is up?
Scott's.
That would be mine.
Oh, and you're not gonna run, Scott?
No, I am not.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay, the
Okay.
financial report. First of all, the expenditure and revenue reports for February.
Is anything standing out?
We have a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Pam. I'll second.
Okay.
And next we have the abstract of claims. April, you wanna, or do you have?
I have the dollar
Oh,
amount,
okay.
which is 113,242 67, some of the things that we were starting to pay some of the contractors for work
Oh,
done. So that's why it's increased.
I'm sure they want to get paid.
They do.
Absolutely.
There's no contractors paid on that. There's 3 payrolls in there.
I'm sorry, there's 3 payrolls. They didn't, ooh, that's not good that they're on any kind. Well, there is architectural
Yes,
expenses in there.
but I haven't
And well,
gotten
3
any.
payrolls, definitely, that's very
Yeah.
in line then.
It's just the way the meetings worked out with the payroll.
Right.
Yeah, the way the calendar. Okay, can we have a motion to accept the abstract of claims, March 9th to April 12th?
I'll accept.
I'll second.
Okay. I didn't hear who said.
Scott seconded. And this isn't on the agenda, but we received a CD renewal from Bank of Utica. If we do nothing, it'll roll over the same. The starting balance was 12,298 and 7 cents, and then the at maturity it was 12,396 and 51 cents. It's I want to say it's a 6-month.
1 year.
1 year, okay, 1 year. So yeah, it wasn't that significant, but $100 just for letting it sit there. So usually it's just renewed, just because I remember when John was on the board, John Levitt, that is.
Yeah.
He kind of made an effort to go find CDs that were better, a
Yeah.
return on our investment, and he came back and said, yeah, Becky, Utica's good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the best, right, he did already, so we've been rolling.
Nowadays, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. All right, so do we need to?
We usually do, right,
We
Sean?
need
Do
to
we,
vote on
do we
that.
vote to do it, or do we just?
Yes, I will move that we roll the CD over at the current rate.
Or something, we'll renew it
Right.
as,
Yeah, at the current rate.
there you go.
Okay, I'll second. Or did you?
Okay, and as I had mentioned, I think a little bit earlier to April, I am unfortunately going to have to leave now, so
I
will-
think that we voted on everything though, so yay,
Okay,
we
great.
did it.
Take care all. Have a
Okay,
good evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Scott. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Okay, so
All right.
I guess I was going to try to do something different than just my appointments, but then it started, I thought, well, the appointments seem to tell, it's a good snapshot of what happens. And then I have a few other supporting documents floating around here. We did start, since we met, our first meeting with Mead, which, oh dear, Mechanical Engineering Interior Design is what that stands for. It's an acronym. I've, excuse me, since found out, and we had an introductory meeting the day after the board meeting, and we were off and running. They got report and like all the building permits and those kinds of things. Now, I continue to, I'm just gonna do it a little quicker. Digital Navigator is something that we're doing through Central Library Resources Council. There's some money with, oh dear, that's ARPA, which is American Rescue
right,
something
yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be doing some Digital Navigators things at the library eventually when it all works out. So I attend those, so we're in compliance with that. I'm still with Rotary. Renovations to Dunham House started on the 14th. There's already been change orders. I'm going to chat about those later. So in a way, we might, we have contingency budgets, but I just, I just want you to know what's going on. DPL, we had a programming meeting, and we haven't had them for a little bit, not a long time, but we probably had like 3 or 4 months because we were really focusing on just moving out of Dunham House. So we did that, and it was a good meeting to gather some ideas. And then we have a Eagle Scout candidate, Riley Dam is his name, and he is, his dad's a beekeeper.
Mm.
So we're going to try, we've been doing the raised beds and we have the flower boxes and we have these different things. So one more thing to try to maybe make this all work out, and we'll have a butterfly garden type of thing or
Oh,
pollinator
that'd be
garden.
nice.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about it because
Right.
local plants and all of that, and working with
Right.
Cornell Cooperative Extension. So
That's good for the world thing to do.
it is a good for the world thing to do. All right, so then we did have a Directors Advisory Council meeting at Mid-York on the 16th. Library funding looks positive. It was really cute because, and actually to finish with that, the state budget for libraries, they wanted library aid, which for the most part goes to like Central Library Resources Council, State Library, Mid-York. It wasn't as large as we were hoping, but it did increase. So that benefits Mid-York more. But if Mid-York is strong, so are we, because then they provide a lot of services for us that we wouldn't have to pay for.
Right.
So there was a bit of an increase, but library construction aid is going to be 34 million again this year, which is huge to us.
Yeah.
Digital inclusion is in there. There's 10 million in digital inclusion. So the digital navigators are kind of like that. There's Love Your Library Fund. There's 150K in there. They're going to be able to release it. There was no mechanism to release the money that you used to, I don't know if you renew your driver's license, whatever, and you click Love Your Library, and it just kept going in there and going in there and going in, and there's no way to get it out. So now there's a way to get it out.
All right.
And then there was a modification on open meeting line. I did forward that to you, and I think that had to do with a video conference. There's other things. There's a lot of other little things, but the big thing was 34 million for us. Bank deposits, which are always good. Betsy Kennedy retired after more than, I have a typo, after more than 40 years. So that was basically what the meeting was. There was a meeting in Chittenango. Oh, I wrote Cazenovia. It's really Chittenango. Good. Oh, she retired from Cazenovia. The meeting was in Chittenango. Okay. It was president-elect training for Rotary, which was actually quite valuable. I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, it is. I went to the president-elect. I am going to be president-elect, or I will be president in July of our local Rotary. I said no as many times as I could. So it's a joint, I am president with Steve Long, who's a retired police officer, works for M&T Bank. So we're going to do that together. And we're also, I don't think it's on, it won't be on here, it'll be on the next time, but we are doing a canal cleanup, which is one of our initiatives that we're doing. And it's kind of like adult scouts. That's all I can like summarize Rotary as. And so some of the scouts are going to help us with cleanup. And so they're good connections.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, we resumed Books of Our Lives in person.
Yay.
That's fun. Oh wow. I finished a lot of New York State construction grants too, and I did the 2021. Also, that might have been last month, but the final uploads for 2019. You wouldn't think I'd still be working in 2019, but these doors with the windows in them, we didn't have windows in these doors before. And so it was kind of awkward. You didn't know what was going on in here, and you didn't know. So we approved that long ago for the 2000. So in 2018, that was part of the construction grant, but we finally got these doors. So I don't know where they made them. They had to be ordered, and it was weird. We had a contractor who were like, we thought he was dragging his feet, and maybe he really wasn't dragging his feet as much as we thought. But then we went with Utica door, Utica. Anyway, we finished it. So that was big to finish that and set it up, because we will get the 10% remainder for that. That'll come in. So, and we closed last year's grant. So the 2021 closed. We have director's calls. So they're good. I haven't made all of them this month because things are busy here. We're making progress on the renovation, or at least finding the snafus. I did attend the policies and risk management, the trustee handbook book club. Those are good. And then I come back and I go, oh my gosh. So what we did is, I know Shar and Janae have been working too. I said, can we just get all the policies in one place?
Yeah, I was gonna say that because I attended that meeting too.
Right.
And they said oh, as a trustee, you should have been given a stack of the policies and
Or at
I,
least the
and
URL.
also, yeah, what about sexual harassment policy? Do we need training as the board of trustees?
Yes, you
Or-
do. And we do have
You've
those
probably done it, but
through,
We've done it.
but I
I know
can,
it's an
I
every
can
year
resend,
thing.
it is every year. I can resend the link to do it through,
And I
yes.
know I'm
will
probably just
resend
like
that.
not had it yet because
Right.
it will be coming up.
But we do
Yeah.
have the access through Niche Academy. So
Okay.
it is a class that we can go through and we can do it in person if you want to. I have all the
Yeah.
books, it's all printed. And so we can just flip through because I was going out and doing it in so many places. I went to Remsen and I offered to do it and I did hours
Right,
here
right.
and we flipped through the book. So I have the books printed and we can
Right.
go through them. And I did them with the staff.
Whichever way.
So
and
yes.
Whenever it needs to happen.
But
it's
we
okay.
can do that, or you can do it through Niche Academy and then we can have conversations. And basically that's what we did is with
Yeah.
staff, I sent it out to staff. We went through it. People could
Right.
work through that, but then I said, now you have to meet with
Right,
me
there
or
is a
your supervisor, say,
requirement.
okay, this is, like, for example,
Yeah.
you're new to the board. So that was a sheet that we would
Mhm.
have, say, okay, if the problem lies with me, then
Mhm.
these are your options and it lists the
Right.
board and your contact information. And then also it lists me so that,
Mhm.
and whoever was a supervisor at the time. So that might
Mhm.
need to be even updated again because I know Kim is doing Janae's kind of moved into the office and I give her these dreadful things to do, like find all the policies and put them all in one place. And then we have like outward facing ones that should be on the website. And then we have the inward facing ones, the
Mhm.
PDFs versus the editable versions. And
Right.
if they're Googled or in Docs or in Word, yada, yada, that kind of thing. So we're working on that. And it was very comforting to hear Rebecca Smith, I'll just say, okay, I have X amount of libraries. I don't know how many she has. And she said, there's 3 that have all this done.
Oh, I know, because the list in the back
Because
of
it's like
that
every time you
handbook,
turn
how
around.
many policies you're supposed to have.
Well, I
So-
remember getting something when I was first on the board,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a lot, you know.
No,
Oh,
I
there-
get
There's-
it.
there's like
There are
quite a list
certain
there.
required ones, but then they seem to keep coming, depending on what happens.
And some of those might not be required, but recommended. and
Right.
some of
I mean,
those
there's a
might be-
procurement policy, like how do we spend money and at what point does April have the
Right.
right to do it? Or do we need to have
And-
board approval for
And
things?
some of the policies might be relevant for certain larger libraries, depending on what they're involved in. And
There
that
is
kind
a
of things that might be
Policy
different.
committee at Mid-York Library System.
Mhm.
There's a few people that are really pretty excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, when you get it all together,
Yeah, let us
just
know.
leave that spot where it says library and that's just a link where you
Oh, so-
put in your own name and then we'll just, change,
Yeah.
we'll
Right.
tweak. And there are some people that truly love that. They love
Mhm.
policy. And I'm not one of them, but
No.
I trust the few people that Are
Sometimes
those-
there's more than is
That's,
necessary.
I think. so.
Oh, I'm
well, I
sure
mean, the
that list
sexual
is
harassment
crazy.
prevention policy, New York
Yeah.
State put it out, right? So they
Yeah.
put it out, and I don't know how many pages it is. We'll go
Yeah.
with it, 6 pages, and it goes through
Yeah.
the basic stuff. And it was a boilerplate, right? It said, put your library name or put your business name
I
here,
know,
do this. Who are the people that you,
right, I know.
the staff need to be able to, so that's the paper we change all the time, is
Right,
the
right.
supervisor or the board
Right.
of trustee members.
Right, I know that
Yeah.
part very
So
well.
that's-
so.
But that was a policy that was created
And you
to
could just,
share.
and you can choose to just adopt that state form
Correct.
or make your modifications as long as it includes A, B,
Right,
C,
certain
D, E, F,
things,
G.
Yes. So that's
but-
happening at Mid-York right now, and I'm
Oh, no, that's,
elated.
that's exciting.
So it is very
good.
exciting,
And
because
then
why
too-
should we all be going through that? And then we're
That's
sending it to a lawyer,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. And I know our personnel manual is, we've got a lot of things in it, but when you add something, are you contradicting something
Yeah.
you've added
Yeah.
recently? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that is also something that if we had a boilerplate
mhm.
policy manual, make sure these are the basic things that you should
Mhm.
have, and then say we have whatever that everybody doesn't have,
Right.
then we cut that part out, or we add our
Yeah,
part, or
yeah,
whatever.
Some specific to
Yeah.
this library.
Okay,
Okay.
so there is that. It is very good, though, the
Mhm.
book club, the
Yeah. I
And
mean,
we
you
are
could-
going to, and FYI, there is going to be 2 hours required training. So these are good things
I mean,
for,
and
to
it's- and
satisfy
it's-
that need.
It's so easy because you just turn it on. You
Yeah.
don't have to respond at all. You send in the chat. They want you to send in what library you work with and how long you've been on the board. But that's it. And then you
Yeah.
can make your dinner while they're talking, or whatever. It's
Right,
at 5
no,
yeah,
o'clock. So,
absolutely.
Jigsaw puzzle,
yeah, exactly.
your jigsaw puzzle board came by the way. Okay.
Oh, good.
All righty, so I did those. We had the handbook. Okay, we had an IT meeting with Mid-York, and the reason we had that is just basically that's more construction stuff. But there was a great discussion, and we decided that we just needed a little cabinet. The rules were just all good. It wasn't complicated. After about an hour or so, we figured that it wasn't complicated. All right. I did go to the Utica Rotary meeting, and that was good. I have heard also, a little side note, there are quite a few libraries that host it. Now, it was hosted at Mid-York, so then there's business owners that could pop in at lunchtime and not necessarily leave the building. So I'm hoping that when this is, when we move out of here, we could actually host the Rotary meetings
Yeah,
here.
that'd be good.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
More Dunham House renovations. I'll get to that when I'm all done. We did a district assembly at BVS, and those, they don't happen all the time. It just happens to be 2 in this, since I've seen you. I went to the chamber annual meeting at the old Radisson, which is now the Delta Hotel. And actually, I sat with Bree from Utica Public Library, who knew John. It's a small world. It was just a nice conversation, just interacting with some people. The annual report, or they have an annual meeting, and they're 125 years old. The chamber, we are members of the chamber, and for the most part, it keeps us informed of what's going on, but we will most likely do an open house again in October because hello, we've got a lot to share.
Yeah.
So we'll probably do another one at the start of October, and they'll do the ribbon cutting and they'll send it through, and wow, and it's their list. It goes to a lot of different people, and we had people here last time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It was just like we were packed in. So hopefully it'll be a nice day and we can meander outside a little bit that day.
Yeah.
I did go to this SHPO one. I'm not that lost with SHPO. SHPO is, sorry, State Historic Preservation Office. Every time we do some construction grant here, because Dunham House is over 50 years old, we have to get approval for whatever we do. And the site is older too. So if there's any ground disturbance, they need to know that what they want to be involved, and they very much want to be involved because Dunham House is old. We are not on the historic registry.
Right.
Then we'd have to jump through many
That's a good
hoops.
thing we're not. Yeah, we're
But
not on the historic registry.
It was interesting. This is okay. This is how you use Chris. They call their database and all. And if this happens, then if there's a period of time, then maybe you didn't push send and all that kind of stuff. So it was a review for me, but it's always good to review because some things fall right out of my brain. State of the county, I went to that also, and the reason I went to that, Lisa, Matt, and Rome, and Chris Saugus and Utica, I think they get intel from things that I don't necessarily get right at first because they are co-county libraries, and we are not. We might be if they weren't here. They're the 2 larger libraries, and a lot of times it's just one, but they're kind of, they're 2 different cities. And I don't think either of them went, but it was very encouraging. Anthony Picente acknowledged libraries, and he acknowledged the digital divide and how difficult it was, and that many people came to libraries during definitely for the vaccination boosters, the people they needed to set up, they needed an email, right? If you don't have an email, do you feel lost? I had a gentleman who came in, and I happened to be, he asked for the director, so I came out, and then I spoke to this man for an hour and a half. He was not born in this country. So he was an older gentleman he was born in Sicily. His language skills weren't, he was difficult to understand. he was delightful man who happened to have a hole in his roof. And he thought that the insurance adjusters were gonna steal from him, and I'm like, no, and like, we called and we did different things, Christina called, and
Yeah.
well, all kinds of stuff happened, and we came to term, we allowed him to understand that the gentleman that came was just an adjuster who was going to tell Liberty Mutual how much money he should get for the hole in his roof. And they weren't coming in to put things in dumpsters or
Oh,
put things in
right.
How did he
storage
know?
pots.
How did he know to come?
How did they,
Yeah,
he
the
didn't
guy-
know to come here? I guess he trusted us.
Oh.
He had a letter,
Right.
saying they were gonna close his account or close his
Oh.
claim because he didn't respond. And he also kind of
Oh.
yelled at people and said they were gonna steal from him.
Oh.
So he didn't have, whatever. So it was
Yeah.
just a big misunderstanding, and we still have cookies in the other room for
But
this
the
gentleman.
libraries are very important.
But so very important. I said, do you have a phone? He said, I do, it's in the car. Like probably no voicemail, no email, none of those kinds of things. So it is very difficult if you don't, have that. And we do find that a bit. Oh, you need to set up an email account. And so we need to sit down and we need to set up an email
Right.
account. And there are
But
sometimes
a
that
lot of those older people are still alive.
it's a lot though.
Don't have it.
I'd be exhausted too. I mean,
I mean, it's
really. I mean, you have to
That's right,
scan
yeah.
something in. I happen to have an office here. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll admit that if I had to scan something in person, it doesn't happen very often, it's probably 4 pages a year, but still, I mean, I could scan at home, but that's my husband's office, a little bit scary over there. I know how to scan here. So anyway, digital divide is a big deal. And so there was a lot of good things going on in this area. We have Griffiths, I don't know if it's called Technology Park, whatever, we've
Yeah.
got a lot of drones, and we've got Wolf Speed, and so many things going on. So it's a very encouraging state of the county. The county's in good shape. I did not go to either one of these last two. I can edit this, but Shar and Janae and I were talking about policy during that sustainability one. And then this morning it was just like, okay, we have to go next door and we have to figure out. So let me just continue on with this. We have change orders for construction. And it's going to amount to, at this point, it's up to 22,000 in change orders, which is not crazy. We had a contingency for 10,000. So since it was, that would have been 35,000-ish. So I just want you to know, I don't know if you need to approve that. It's kind of one of those things like, oh, well, we need to put this wall here for IT. Oh, maybe we really should level that floor that used to be, it's the southeast floor. We need to do that. Okay. Then they took the wallpaper off, and underneath that was the paneling. And then when they took the paneling off, it was pretty much
I
broken.
was gonna say the wall fell down.
Broken. I mean, there's lath, there's plaster, and
Yeah.
then there's brick,
Yeah.
and you're outside. And and so I'm thinking, okay, we got at least insulator on the windows. And then they're recommending that the south wall, which is facing the street, that we currently have tie rods. There are, I should know how many. There's at least 4, I'd say, and they're recommending putting 5 more in. So to put these tie rods in, that means you cut the hole in the floor and you run the tie rod through at least 4 joists, they said, and you have to drill the outside. It's not, it's not catastrophic, but it's a thing and it costs money, right?
Well, we kind of knew in the beginning
Yeah.
that when you start messing with an old building.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
all
you
kinds
need
of
more
But this is
stability.
now, this is what we have to do. And then there were drop ceilings, but then then they said, well, we can, do this. And so things go back and forth. So there's credits and then there's deductions, and I have it all in detail, but you're very welcome to look through them all. But there's just, for example, saw cut, remove existing plywood floor as required, install tapered wood board, so there's just this stuff that we have to do.
$22,000 more.
That's the difference currently, but that doesn't include the tie rods
Yeah.
and the leveling of floor might be in here. So I think, I did sign this, and it's within what's already been approved,
Right, it's within.
but we might go beyond what's already been approved.
Mhm.
So if you could I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, could you
We just have to
acknowledge
Well, I
wait
think-
that
I think we
you?
should
Wait and
wait.
see if
I
it goes
think so,
beyond, and
too.
if it does,
Yeah.
then we
I think
approve
it
that.
will, but I also
how much
would
is
like to
gonna-
have permission to approve it as, like, almost immediately. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
So if it happens, you'll have approval, but the thing
Yeah,
is.
because you
Or as long as we're continuing to work with the same group, I'll just, I mean, if something's insane, most of the stuff isn't crazy. It's just little stuff, like
Yeah, we
this
never know what they're gonna
particular
encounter,
one.
though, you know, and then we have to.
Right, I mean, I don't necessarily want you to have a meeting, like this particular one was for 2,000 or for materials, so this was 6,400 for this particular one. And then some are small, this one is 2,100 to do this, this one is $235. We put automatic hair and dryers.
Now,
in
what'd you say, there
bathrooms.
was $22,000 more?
This is, yes, so all these change orders 1 through 18 were $22,327.
and we had a $10,000 contingency.
I do believe it was 10%.
10%.
So we, in that, the original contract sum was for 356,000.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe if we
yeah.
approve this, 22,000,
Mhm.
then I'm starting at zero again.
We have to.
How's
prove
that?
We have no
How's
choice.
that? For logic.
I think we have to prove it, there's no.
I think you should.
Yeah, you can't very well say,
Okay.
well, never mind, we
No,
don't
no,
bother
we
with
have to
that.
do it.
Oh, we
I mean, I'm
have to.
not-
I'll
Yeah,
make
right.
a motion that we approve the change orders number
Right.
1 through 18.
1 through 18.
Change orders for construction numbers 1 through 18 totaling $22,327.
Ooh, you listen.
All
I
right,
wrote it down.
all right, I'll
Okay.
second it, Pam.
But basically, there was it's leveling of floors mostly. It's a little bit of, we changed something, we were credited, that kind of thing. But it's going to get interesting because we are adding more. The engineer just recently told us that was the tie rods. Here's a picture of the tie rods being added. And they also recommend that we, in the beginning, were not reinforcing this corner. We were just reinforcing around the vestibule and over here where the bay window is. But now they want to, we're already gonna have the
Yeah.
excavator here, so we might as well do that southeast corner in
Well, I
question.
think so, yes.
So that's
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah,
gonna come.
I remember we went to tear the house down.
I know, right? We can't go back. We
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, that should end up costing you
Originally, we
more
were gonna tear the
money.
house down, but now I wonder how much more they're gonna find there.
What, I think that's the biggie, once we do that little engineering piece
Yeah.
around. So basically, we're almost, the original one that we had, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, when they did the building survey. I remember Alison Crowley saying, you need to dig around all of
Yeah,
Dunham House,
right.
and we went, what?
Yeah.
I
But see
remember.
how the second person to tell me this, all of a sudden I'm not
Yeah,
shocked
see,
anymore, right?
yeah.
Because the initial shock
Mhm.
is over. So I
So,
think after
what
that,
kind
we'll
of
be good.
thing- Now, this involves the first floor or the second floor?
Well,
Bones of house.
okay, there's the basement,
Yeah.
the foundation. So what they're doing is basically they're digging along the foundation and
Right,
they're
but I mean,
they're
the rest of the
pinning it
stuff about
together.
walls and all that, is that upstairs or downstairs?
Um,
Or both?
upstairs, that where we're putting tie rods, that's the second floor all the way across. So it's like in the middle of the house. So it seems obvious that it's wrong, like the southeast corner that is, and you can see it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
can,
because they
Oh,
want to
yeah,
keep
we
those
can see
walls.
You can
straight.
see it,
No,
right.
my question was, how much more? I mean, if they talked about, looked at the basement, looked at the first floor, looked at the second floor, what's the potential for more additions as far
Yeah, right.
as just shoring up the building?
this one, I don't have a price on this particular thing, because this just came
Oh,
through
you
like
don't have a price on it.
yesterday
Yeah,
afternoon.
And that's for.
And so we haven't had the price for what the engineer submitted this to us yesterday, and I spoke with Kevin, who was the Mead
Yeah.
bid person. So but we already have the excavator coming. That was part of the original bid.
Right, right.
It was just
So
these
that's-
a little
yeah,
more we're doing
yeah.
over here. And they did cut, because last night I'm like, what does that mean? Do we need to do this? He said, I don't know if we need to do this. I said, well, why don't we cut the floor open and see what it looks like? Maybe we cracked a few floor joists or something, and that's why it's coming, you know what I mean? But they cut, and it wasn't big, they cut the floor 12-inch swath maybe. And so they pulled that up. They did a nice job with that. So they pulled the underlayment, the top underlayment, say 1/4 inch it is. And then they had hardwood floor or whatever the subfloor was underneath. And they cut those boards and they exposed where that tie rod was. I could even take you up there if you care that much. But basically there's a floor joist here, here, and here. I think it only did 3.
Yeah.
And you can see it went through and it looks in great shape. Doesn't look like anything's broken. I just think what happened long ago, and they said that, they said, okay, there was settlement. They fixed the floor, and I want to say they fixed the floor in 1986 or whenever they renovated Dunham House last time. They leveled the floor downstairs. That's still level. So they don't believe it's going to fall any further or anything of that. But while it's all open, it's not all open, but that we're gonna do the floor, it's gonna, but basically they can cut these it's pain, but it's not catastrophic. I mean, I can see how it could be done, right? I mean, it's not, you cut this out, you put your circular saw at such a depth that you're not cutting up more than you need to. And then you're drilling through, and they're gonna drill through brick. They do that all the time.
And it makes sense to do it.
Do it
because-
now,
Yeah.
because once we put the floor on it, we don't want to cut it up. So it's just one of those things. And I said that, I said, I think we need to level the floor. Shar said something about ergonomic, am I gonna say it right? So here it is, like where you sit with your keyboard, this and that and the other thing. And I thought, okay, we're gonna sit at this desk like this, because it's off 2 inches and 4 feet. 2 inches and 4 feet. I said, we have to fix
That's like a
the floor
wheelchair ramp.
right now, right? I know.
Now, what about the walls?
Okay, the walls and the exterior, they are going to sheetrock over those two.
So, I mean, when you took everything down, you said.
It's, okay, what we see is sheetrock, well, not sheetrock, sorry. We see lath with like broken plaster over it, mostly in that room. Now, the rest of Dunham House is repairable. Like the walls, they're plastering, they're doing, it's just that one room that was this, like the Paul, I don't know who it was. It was the study in the front.
Right.
It was Janae's office. It was that, it's the southeast corner, it's the one right.
Right, and it's all.
And it's a mess. And there was
lack of
talk
structure in the floor
that
and-
maybe we would
foundation.
have like a sheetrock ceiling, and I'm standing back in the hallway, I'm looking at that and I'm going, there's no way. I said, we need a drop ceiling in there, which was the original plan. It was tricky, because one of the change plans was that they were going to put a drop ceiling all over, but they thought that the plaster might fall on the drop ceiling. So it was a little too ugly to just put a drop ceiling in. So since they were gonna put the sheetrock on anyway, or gypsum board, however you wanna call it, sheetrock's probably a brand name like Band-Aids, but they're gonna do that anyway. They said, well, okay, if we're gonna do that, we might as well put furring strips attached the sheetrock to it. And if you're gonna put clean sheetrock, you might as well just take the sheetrock and it's a fine ceiling. But we could have done that, but the ceiling would have been so crooked in that front room, it would have looked awful. And so we're gonna shim the floor and we're gonna shim the ceiling. And it's just like, it just needs all the help we can give it. So it's going to have new sheetrock on the 2 outside walls. And funny, they're not gonna sheetrock the inside walls, but the plaster was so broken that they just knocked it off and put sheetrock in some places. So that room is
But just that room, it's not.
just that room mostly. Yeah, really. The rest of the rooms, like those bookshelves in the front, and they chose not to put a drop ceiling in because they had those old fashioned ceiling tiles. And they were going to put a drop ceiling just in case it was asbestos, but it's not asbestos. So they can tear it out. It's not a problem. And they're going to put new sheetrock there. We originally were going to have a wall that was going to lead to the 2nd floor. I said, can we just X that out of this project? Because you know what, that's 2-3 years down the road and we can put it in later, or maybe we don't even have an access we
Yeah.
would just use the elevator or whatever. And so we kind of put that on hold because it just wasn't worth it. We had to fire, it just, So
So
we-
it sounds like you
there's-
discovered everything.
We
You've
did.
Been through
Hopefully.
everything.
And then-
so-
okay, so then downstairs, there's little things. Okay, the downstairs bathroom, we had a 2x4 wall because everything would fit in it. And they said, if you just did a 2x6 wall, we could run it right across and we wouldn't have this
Yeah.
jog. And she's like, yeah, you can do that, just no extra money. Because in fairness,
Mhm.
it saves them time and
Yeah.
energy to
Right.
just
Do the
run
whole
it straight
thing.
across.
Right.
Yep.
So that was a change order and it was minor. And then there was another one, the back wall of the kitchen. Well, it was the original wall. So they said, you might really want us to fur this out so that when you put your kitchen in it, your countertop actually hits a solid wall. So that again, wasn't a lot,
Mhm.
but it's probably $800 by the time you're, but again,
We've all done renovations.
Right. so that's what all this is, and I'll share it with you. But that's what's happening, just little things which we kind of knew, and it's not very difficult, but it's so much different than all the other renovations we've
Yeah.
done are pretty
Mhm.
much new construction. Right, even if we built the wall between,
Right.
that was, it was pretty new. Like we did take down some old, but we were dealing with 1986.
Mhm, yeah, I know.
We weren't dealing with
Yeah,
1852
whatever.
or whatever it is. So it's kind of what we expected. That's why there was a 10% contingency. We may not get over the 10%
Right,
contingency,
yeah.
but I just know that this little engineering thing is going to come up in the next 2 days.
Mhm.
And I'd like to so if we approve the fact that we've already spent this 22,000, then I don't believe
No,
Yeah.
that's in addition.
we're good.
Okay, so
Okay,
did
now-
I give you everything? I think I did.
Yeah.
Chip was here. Donations. I had that's sorry, that's correspondence later on.
Where are you? At old business?
I don't know where I
Well,
am.
we'll
I was
keep
in the
that-
director's
we'll just
report, I
finish the
think.
report.
Yeah, where am I
We're
putting the
old
part
business
about
now.
the orders for construction? Is that old business, new business?
Okay, hold
director's
on.
Report?
Maybe, oh, we could, well, in all honesty, this construction project's old.
Yeah, I would say old
Yeah, we've been
business.
working on
It's
that for a
old
long
business,
time.
yeah.
It's old
Good,
business.
that's where
Okay.
it's written.
We already did new business.
We did.
Which was
Oh.
Chip with the audit.
And then announcements.
Yeah, I have
I
a
don't-
couple of things I want to say.
Okay, go.
Well, number one, you have to change my address with Mid-York too, because I won't get anything. from
Email.
them.
I have that here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put
so-
some stars around it
Yeah.
and maybe
Mid-York.
I'll do that. I'll hope to do that.
'Cause
Maybe,
I
you know
won't-
what? I'm
I
gonna
won't get
change that.
anything From anything, I won't get it from New York
Yeah.
State.
Pat's email.
I won't get it from anything.
I had a question. A couple of months ago, didn't Pat asked about meeting different library staff and you said something
I
about
know.
having people coming to the
I
meetings.
do, I
Yeah,
do, I
well, we
will,
can-
I
yeah,
will.
Yeah.
I
we
do
can-
have a
know you're
few
busy
things
with all this
over
audit and
here.
everything
Yeah,
else.
April's gonna lose her mind. I do just FYI
Yeah.
personally, I
Yeah.
have my
Because,
mother has
yeah,
3
I won't be-
grandchildren and one of them is getting married in May and
Who
the
is-
other one is my son. He's getting married in June.
Oh.
So my niece is getting married in May. My brother's only child, so there's only 2 children in the family, so
Oh,
I'm going to that wedding the first weekend in May. And
Where is it?
it's in Egg Harbor Township in South Jersey, below Atlantic City.
Okay, yeah.
And then I'll be away from
Fun.
my son's wedding, which is June 10th. So that's in Westchester. So I'll be down there for a few days and
Yeah,
that's my brain right now.
and
Yeah,
the
sure.
construction.
And the construction.
everything going
So
on.
I did tell them, and I do have like some of the puzzles and things that people are doing, but I will get some kind of
Yeah,
rotation
well, we got.
on that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that
Yeah.
most of this construction project, say July, will
That's
be
right.
pretty
I think,
close to
yeah.
done.
Yeah, sure.
So if I get that on the list of things to do, I did
Now,
acknowledge it.
did my daughter did they bring something here from, I thought she was supposed to come and bring something from whatever.
Jamie and I met with her a while back.
No, just recently. She wondered if I was coming to this meeting, but she's at a dinner tonight. So I don't know. I thought she,
She may have contacted someone else.
I don't
Also,
know. It
Dennis
could be,
is-
there was something they had to bring here for
Oh,
fight this week.
too.
I don't know. Well, that's all right. I'll get in contact with her.
This is a week. This is break. Wow. And the school is doing a scavenger hunt. So students are coming to get a ticket from us, and then they're coming to get a ticket, and then if they don't have a library card, they're getting it. So it's been quite busy, and which is good. It's good that we're busy. But- I think it was elementary
Yeah.
school, because I know Char's son got one of those, so
Yeah.
it's elementary.
It's K through 8.
K through 8.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay, so I do want to just tell you that I had a call for a donation. When do I do that? Is that?
Okay, we're down to.
Is that communication?
Communications, yeah.
It's not like almost the same thing. Anyway, Thread of Life is
Oh, yeah.
no longer the Thread of Life.
Right,
They've
right.
become the Rescue
Rescue
Mission.
Okay.
So they still have a budget, or not a budget, they still have a amount of money that is theirs, and they're dispersing it. And they're going to donate $2,000 towards our summer intern program.
Oh,
In the
that's
past,
nice.
we've done that. Actually, Stephanie started that. And she wanted helpers, and it was hard to hire it's
Yeah.
almost
Well, that's
students,
great.
high school students, and we weren't gonna go through civil
So what
service
do
and
they
do all that.
donate it back to the?
They're gonna donate it they're gonna donate $2,000 to the library,
Right.
and they want to do something with Flag Street.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
so they're donating to the community,
Good.
So
which is
that's
what they
nice.
used to do.
repeat that again, they're donating,
$2,000 to be put towards the summer intern
okay.
program.
And
So
that's
when
from
we
the
get
rescue
that
mission.
check, we will probably have to have you, accept that donation.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's
where will
from
it
the
go?
rescue mission. you
It's
said.
going to go to the summer intern program,
that's
which
right.
means
Okay,
we
right,
would
right.
hire, we have
You
some
know, was our
students
Dunham account involved in this, our other account that we have
involved in that.
in this,
The audit?
the audit?
Char,
No,
No.
it's not included. It's not operating funds.
Oh, that's what I'm
Yeah,
glad.
it's
Just
separate.
operating.
Yeah.
I hope it's separate. Yeah.
so it's just, it's under the radar.
You know, how much money we have in there?
Any other
Does it
communications?
show how much we have? in
It
there?
shows, not in there, but we do have the bank statements in
Uh,
there.
The
Oh, okay.
financial reports that I turn in has it on all of them.
Oh,
It's on the
look at that,
revenue
Char.
All
sheet.
right, should be, okay, I know.
It's on here. It is, that's
It's on
true.
there, okay.
Yeah, it's there.
Yes, it's on the second page of the financial sheets towards the bottom. It does say Adirondack Bank Dunham account. And then I'm sorry, that's on the left. To the right
Oh,
is
right.
the Dunham
I see
Endowment
it,
Fund.
I
which
see
is
it.
Also the
Okay.
CD.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, no, because we have to do something for Scott.
Yes, yeah.
And so what we usually do is we have a dinner. We usually have, we invite him, of course, his wife, if we want to have a dinner and give him, and we usually take it out of that account.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking that.
What we did I remember John Levitas. What did we do it was
For him,
COVID for
I forgot what we did
Susan.
for him.
Suzanne. whatever.
I don't remember.
And I know John wanted we gave him a gift card. You gave him a gift card
Yes.
to,
Right.
steak,
Yeah.
Texas
I don't know if we had
Roadhouse.
it, what? We
He
never did
came
it.
in and he told me he had eaten like at Texas Roadhouse like 4 times on
Yeah.
board, because he'd go,
Yeah.
they'd get one meal
Right,
and
and
they'd
they'd share.
split it
I
and
know.
they'd eat it twice.
That would be
And
John-
so-
that would be John.
Right? So he was tickled that he didn't have to
No, but
go
we
out.
have to do something, and if he wants to have a dinner, usually if he wants to have a dinner, then we should have a dinner with the
Okay.
board and him, wife, and, but we should offer that, and then give him.
Yeah, that was nice when we did that in the
Yeah.
past.
I mean, I've been through so many
Now,
of them.
we as in you,
What?
or do I ask?
Yeah, you-
I asked John. No, I mean, who
Who
talks?
who puts the invitation out to him?
Who reaches
The
out?
President or?
To Scott.
You?
Well, probably the president of the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was president, I remember doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we have to decide, we'll ask him if he would like to have a dinner.
Yeah.
And
what
then,
is
of course,
it?
then we have
What
to
is
decide
it?
on
He
the-
would be done September
Gotcha.
30th.
Yeah. So we could have time to think, but we should
Yeah.
have to kind of think about that. and,
Okay.
Okay.
oh,
You could even email.
If he
him.
doesn't want a dinner, then we can just give him a gift
Yeah.
and,
Right.
but he may want to, you know.
Yeah.
you know.
Fun. Yes,
Okay.
because he served a couple different times. He was on the board and then before I was
Right.
here.
Oh, and then.
And then there
Ken
was Ken
Shaft
Shaft
got-
couldn't continue
Right,
his,
so he came back on.
and then he filled his
Right.
term
Right.
like for a couple of years and then he ran it
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah.
he has served on the board
Yeah, for
quite a few
while.
Yeah,
times.
he's been here for a while.
Okay,
Okay,
I
are
don't
you
think I
all
have
set?
anything else. I think that was what was on my
And we have
list.
no reason for an executive session.
No.
No.
We have another public
Check on my
comment section.
boxes.
Would you like to join in anyway, or?
No, I didn't really bring a lot to say.
Okay, we answered your questions, or at least now we've created questions.
I say, I, as a member of the public, am satisfied with the quality of this meeting.
Well, good.
Thank you.
It's a little silly sometimes, but we've all known each other for quite a while. Okay,
We're
all
all
set.
we're all teachers besides. It's funny how all of us are
I
teachers.
know, that's what John Levitas was a nice,
The difference, yeah.
the
The fact they have
difference
not
is
someone in
businessman.
education.
Yeah.
But all different levels. It was
Well,
interesting
we're all
because
diff- We're all different
Oh,
levels.
different.
because
kinds of
Sally
things,
yeah.
had, she was at Utica Public, and
Yeah.
yeah, Utica
yep.
Public
one of the elementary
schools.
I mean,
schools.
Sally.
Special
Sally was a
education,
teacher.
speech
Sally, I had in so
pathologist. I
many
don't know, Pat,
college-
I can't even go into
Pat
all
had
her
100
things.
classes.
Are these ours?
They can be yours, you know, if you
Okay,
want,
we-
well,
can we have a
I'm
motion?
sorry.
Can we have a motion for adjournment?
Yeah, we didn't adjourn.
I'll make the
I had
motion.
61 years.
Pam made the motion
Wow.
for adjournment.
That's-
I will
that's quite a bit.
second.
Yeah.
I have stats
So
too.
And
all
it's
the programs.
7:15.
We're doing quite well with our
Yeah.
programs. They're pretty well attended. I can send you the digital versions of some of the reports.
And I would still be doing it. if
Why can I
tomorrow.
not remember? Do I need to
You have
sign
to
anything
sign,
or
you
not?
can sign it if you want to.
I
Technically,
signed
no.
all the- I
but
signed
why?
all the tags.
All the tags, perfect. That's good.
There.
Okay, I think we're done. The meeting is
All right.
adjourned. Thank you.
All right, all
Thank
set.
you.